I'm a monster in the forest, and the things here scare me. It wasn't always like this. The forest used to be peaceful and beautiful, but now, everything is different. Humans call us Wendigos, and decades ago, I made a huge mistake. When I was a little boy, I was young and naive. I was wandering my hometown when I saw something move in the distance. It was a wonderful morning, and the sun was shining. I looked around but saw nothing, but after a few minutes, I saw a young woman in the forest. She looked like she was 20. She then beckoned me. Me, a very young boy, not knowing what to do, decided to follow her into the woods. She went behind a tree and I followed her. Then, she thrust her hand over my neck and lifted me off the ground. I yelled in surprise, What are you doing? Let go of me!
I will let go of you if you give me the blood of someone poor. And if you don't do what I say, I'm going to kill you. Or do something worse.
I considered this and decided to lie myself out of the situation. Okay, I'll do it. Just let me go. The young girl loosened her grasp and let me go.
Come back tomorrow or face the consequences.
I ran out of the forest and into my home, and that night I was plagued with nightmares. Nightmares that could have been true if I wasn't careful. In the morning, I stayed inside and didn't go out. My parents were worried about me, so I just said I was tired. I wish I hadn't gone near the forest that day, because every day after that encounter, it got colder and colder. My father couldn't grow food anymore. If I didn't do anything about my hunger, I would die. So that night, I went hunting, but not for animals. For something easier. I was stalking my prey when I stepped on a stick. It was loud enough for my prey to turn around and see me. "Who's there?" the man yelled at me. I ran towards him and stabbed him in the neck. The human lay there limp. I dragged it into the forest to eat it. And in the forest, I was enjoying the feeling of my depleting hunger. When suddenly a piercing pain went through my head. It hurt so much that I fell down. I hit my head on a rock and blacked out. And in the morning when I woke up, all I could feel was a hunger burning deep inside me. I was too hungry to notice the wet, rotting smell. I stood up, not noticing my elongated arms. I shook my head and noticed it was heavier. I put my hand to my head and felt a hard material surrounding it. I ran to the edge of my village and found a cracked mirror near the garbage cans. I grabbed it and looked into it. Where a face should have been was a deer skull. Then I remembered a myth. The myth of Wendigos. But this wasn't native land, was it? An overwhelming hunger took me, and I noticed a child walking by. I wondered what I could do, but the hunger finally made up my mind. I began to stalk the kid, moving in unison with it. Finally, I made my move.
"Rudy, come here. I have something for you."
I spoke in his mother's voice, making it sound realistic.
"Okay, Mom, I'm coming."
I growled in joy as I heard footsteps approach me. When the child entered the forest, I grabbed their arm, clawing them in the process. The little kid screamed and got out of my grip before running away. I caught up to them, but they were already out of the forest. That night, the people in the village set up traps. I was waiting for somebody to be alone, but that never happened. I ran at the closest person I could and clawed them to death. The others heard his screaming and came running towards the scene. They saw me, but couldn't catch up. I was too fast. And now, years after, many people have gone missing, but I mostly eat the animals. But something has changed. There's something darker. And now and then, I see flashes of fur. I turn around, but it's gone. Sometimes I hear it breathing. I feel eyes on me. Something is following me, but I don't know what. Last night was different, though. I heard growling coming from a bush. I clawed the bush until it was shredded, but there was nothing there. Only leaves. The thing also started to bark and howl, but it wasn't a wolf or a dog. And when I tried to sleep, even though I don't need to, I would hear it scraping. It wasn't even scraping though, it was clawing. I looked around and growled. My voice was hoarse and scratchy. "Who's there? Show yourself!" And the clawing stopped. The creature didn't do anything. I stood up and looked everywhere. Finally, I saw the creature, but only for a second. Its eyes glowed in the darkness. Its ears were brown and they were long and fluffy. Everything about the creature was fluffy. Even with all of its fluffiness, the creature was slim and tall. Everything about this creature was off. It was like a wolf, but the way it stood, the creature walked backwards, and it ran towards the town that I hunted. I decided to try and sleep anyway. That wolf would probably run away. When I woke up, I smelled a strong scent of copper, which was weird because only a human could make a smell that bad. I decided to check out what it was. I stood up and walked towards the edge of the forest. I looked around and saw claw marks everywhere, but the scent of blood was coming from a small blue house. And when I looked inside of the windows, I saw a massacre. Inside was mangled corpses. There were pools of blood everywhere. One human couldn't make that much mess. There must have been more bodies. I moved closer to the house, but stopped. There was a broken window. And on that window was a chunk of bloody fur. Fur that came from that one creature in the forest. The wolf had attacked the humans. I was about to turn around and run when something seemed off. The broken glass was facing outside of the home, but not the inside. It was probably nothing. The wolf could have gotten in another way. But then I noticed something else. Something stranger. The humans around the house weren't doing anything about it. They weren't cleaning up the mess. They were only watching. I decided that I would return that night and get a better look at things. The scent of copper was still thick in the air as I slowly snuck up around the house. I looked for an entrance to where the thing might have broken in, but there was none. All there was is the broken window. I heard a knocking on the door and a deep growl. I faced the sound, and to my surprise was a human walking the wolf over to a house. I hid behind a bush and watched. The door flung open, and a middle-aged man came storming out. "Hey, what's the big idea? It's the middle of the night! Go to sleep, jeez!" To my surprise, the wolf stayed hidden. That was until the human spoke. "You'll do anything for the hunger to stop." The wolf snapped its head towards the middle-aged man and charged towards him. The wolf stood on its two hind legs and grabbed the man. The man let out a choked gasp and became blue. The wolf bit the man's head off and ate him. The guy went limp and was torn into pieces. I let out a loud gasp that caught the attention of the person. The wolf noticed this and began stalking towards me. I ran full speed at the wolf and clawed at its eyes. I let out a growl as I bit down on the wolf's throat, and the wolf went limp. I let go, and then it came back to life, clawing at me, trying to kill me. It was too much for me to handle, and I went still. I was waiting for the wolf to stop. I played dead, waiting, and it finally stopped. I stood up and ran. I found something glistening on the road and noticed it was a phone. I grabbed it and ran into the forest. This phone will probably die soon. I've got to find something else to write with. Goodbye for now. Hey y'all, I hope you like this story. I'm actually trying out a new mic today. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of it, so I probably won't be recording with this one in the future. But the story for today is I'm a Monster in the Forest, and the things here scare me, by TheDragonWrites. If you like this story, feel free to check them out in the description. There are plenty of links down there. There's also links to the music used, the art used, as well as if you'd like to suggest any future stories. So once again, hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for coming. See you next time.